So tonight I was finishing off the films that were highlighted in last week's Gay Hollywood Spotlight on TCM. I missed two of the films. They were on too early in the morning, too late at night, kind of, whatever. I was asleep and or on my way to work when they were on, so I watched them. They were films I had not seen before. The first one was Charles Walters' Summer Stock. So, firstly, Summer Stock stars Judy Garland, Gene Kelly. The spotlight was for Charles Walters. Charles Walters was a choreographer for many, many musicals and then directed several films as well. There's a great book about him that you can get just based on the name of it. I posted about it on my Twitter, so you can read all about his involvement in basically the MGM musical as we know and love it. And he was indeed very gay. So, know and love it, most people, or people who love musicals. I do not particularly care for musicals. I like Cabaret, and I like some of the pre-code musicals, but this era musical is just a lot, and I'm not a fan of them. I don't hate them. Like, if they're on, I'm not, like, dying, but they are not my favorite, and I do not seek them out. I watched this because I wanted to support Charles Walters, and I wanted to support this theme. And I love Judy, and I love Gene, but I just don't like musicals. I don't know. Forgive me. I do love the acting, though. So it's like the acting in musicals I love. The musical numbers and the singing and all of that, I'm not a fan of. Although Judy has a great voice. So when Judy is like doing that fragile thing that she does where she's like, you feel like she's a porcelain doll that's about to break any minute, the way she talks and holds herself, it's heartbreaking to watch, and I love it. And nobody cries like Judy Garland. Like, she's the greatest crier. And Gene Kelly has that face with the little scar that's like the hottest scar. Does anyone have a better scar? I don't think so. And he's very charming, and they have really great chemistry. And it has a great supporting cast with like Eddie Bracken and Gloria DeHaven and Marjorie Main. And this movie has a lot going for it, and I'm sure fans of musicals, this is a great movie for you. Basically, on all of those like lists that are like the great movies, the things that I'm missing are all the musicals, because I just have to force myself to watch them. Someday I'll watch all the musicals. Maybe someone can explain to me what I'm missing. Or I'm just dead inside. I don't know. Yes, the Get Happy song was great, and the color of musicals is beautiful. I love Technicolor, but there's just something, I don't know. I don't like musicals. I'm sorry. Drop that bomb there. So the next film I watched was, I didn't even talk about the plot. Okay, so Summer Stock is Judy Garland owns the other thing about musicals is there's nothing that happens in these movies could ever happen. And I guess I also don't like fantasy films for the most part, so maybe this is the same reason. But she owns this farm or ranch. I can't decide if it's a farm or a ranch. And her parents are dead, and she's trying to do it on her own, but she can't afford anything. Her helping hands are leaving. Her sister they've spent all their money sending her sister to dancing school and lessons and things. And then suddenly, she finally gets this tractor that she needs, and she's going to run the farm on her own, and it's going to happen. And then all of these musical theater people show up because her sister has brought a summer stock group of performers to come put on a show in their barn. There's no way in hell the barn is big enough to have that whole musical numbers in there. And then producers are going to come and watch it, and then it'll go on Broadway. And then shenanigans ensue because she's involved with Gene Kelly, but then Gene Kelly's going to meet Judy Garland, so obviously Judy Garland is going to be with Gene Kelly, and you see where all that's going. I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Oh, it's one of those ones where like she sings a song at the beginning of the movie, and then the song becomes part of the show, and I'm like, I don't like that. I kind of like Sound of Music because it's not a musical with numbers. It's just people suddenly sing while on a hill and while, trying to get kids to fall asleep and stuff, and that makes sense to me. Those kind of musicals make sense. These ones with the shows, like the put on a show musicals, just do not make sense to me. I don't like them. Except the pre-codes ones because they're like really racy, and those numbers are racy. So that's Summer Stock. The next film I watched was The Enchanted Cottage. So this is the second version of this film. There's a 1924 silent version, and it is originally a play. This version was directed by John Cromwell and produced by Harriet Parsons. Harriet Parsons was Luella Parsons' daughter. She had done several documentaries, short documentaries, early on in the early 40s. This was going to be her first film as a producer. She had the rights to it, and then RKO took it from her, and then Hedda Hopper, of all people, wrote a scathing attack on RKO's sexism, and they gave it back to Harriet. Harriet produced this. She also produced several other films, including I Remember Mama and Clash by Night, and Susan Slept Here, which is like probably my favorite Debbie Reynolds movie. And so this brings us to The Enchanted Cottage. It stars Robert Young and Dorothy McGuire, as well as Herbert Marshall and Spring Byington. The plot of this is that there's this cottage, and it's enchanted. Okay. In that, it's a honeymoon cottage, and you go there, and you have your honeymoon, you fall in love with your husband, fall in love with your wife, you go off, and and you're in love forever. Robert Young is going to rent this cottage, but he, before he can marry his fiancée, he goes off to the war. Dorothy McGuire is a quote-unquote homely young woman, and they make her really ugly. And I was reading, McGuire insisted on clothes that were ill-fitting and no makeup to make her look really unattractive. Robert Young's character goes off to the war. He gets facial scars, which I thought were not that bad. Like, I was expecting, like, Joan Crawford in a woman's face kind of scars, and, like, there was just, like, a line. So, whatever. So, he comes back to this cottage because he's going to, like, abandon his family and live there and be sad. But he starts to fall in love with Dorothy McGuire, and they get married and have their honeymoon. And in this honeymoon, they then become beautiful people. And is it the cottage, or are they really seeing each other like that? I'll let you guess. Basically, the point of this is that two ugly people can find solace in each other, I guess. It's a very, like, old-fashioned look at marriage and at attractiveness and what, like, you know, she's good for an ugly girl and things like that. Like, that kind of dialogue is in there, and it's like, oh. And so it's kind of it's very outdated and a little hard to watch. But it has a very magical feel to it. It would fit in with some of these other sort of romance fantasies. As I just said, I didn't like fantasies, but I like this kind of fantasy, I guess. Of like Portrait of Jenny and oh my God, what's that one with Rex Harrison? It's the only Rex Harrison movie that I can handle. The Ghost of Mrs. Muir, like those kind of movies, they all would fit. Like The Enchanted Cottage fits very nicely in that strange genre. Spring Byington was my favorite thing in this movie. She's always good. So those were the films that I watched, and Gay Hollywood continues on Thursday. We have quite a great lineup with Rebel Without a Cause and All That Heaven Allows and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, a whole bunch of other stuff. A couple of films I haven't seen that are also going to be played in the middle of the night, so I'm going to have to watch them afterwards. But anyways, you should be tuning in every Thursday in June. This was The Enchanted Cottage and Summer Stock.